Hello to everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is the fourth webinar of our monthly Mindfulness and Menopause webinar series, and we will have much more to come each month this year. Skylar Griessel is here as our mindfulness mentor to talk about sleep problems many of us have during menopause and how we can use breathing techniques to prepare our mind and body for that much needed sleep. My name's Kim Fancher, and I'll be your host today. And I'm so ready to hear what Skylar has to share with us on this important topic of how mindfulness can help with our sleep. So let's pass this on to Skylar to get us started. Hi,
Perfect.
Skylar. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great, Kim. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Ready to see how I can improve my sleep.
It's a struggle for me too. So everybody is welcome here. Nobody is perfect, and sleep is one of those fleeting health topics that often takes a back burner seat. So I'm excited to talk about it. Thanks for having me. So in addition to sleep, my friends, we're also going to talk a little bit about brain fog. I know that's a huge symptom when it comes to menopause, and all of those things are related. Most of the symptoms we experience during menopause link in with each other, right? If we've got anxiety or depression, of course, that's going to affect our sleep. And the number one cause for sleep and insomnia during menopause is hot flashes, another symptom we've talked about through this series. I'm so honored to be your presenter today. I am a yoga teacher, a mindfulness and meditation instructor. I also teach Pilates. And so I do a lot of like body and mind connection things. And just being a regular human being, I also struggle with depression, anxiety, insomnia, and all these things. So I haven't had the honor to go through menopause yet, but I do know a little bit about breath and brain activity. And so that's what we'll talk about today in terms of sleep and brain fog and what we can do about it right here, right now. In this series, every month, as Kim said, I present some kind of menopause symptom or side effect like hot flashes or sleep problems or low libido. And then I talk about how we can use mindfulness techniques to address those things and just better our holistic well-being and better our quality of life. So thank you so much for being here, and congratulations to you for participating in this. You can expect some hands-on practice in every single one of my presentations. I don't have any videos for you today, but we are using this fabulous book, The Wisdom of Menopause, which I got at the public library. So please feel free to use your resources. And if you need any prompts or materials today, you might grab a piece of paper and a pen. We are going to do a little bit of a gratitude practice. It's short, it's painless, it's effective. So if you want to grab a piece of paper and just take some notes, please feel free to do that. I'll let you know what else to look forward to in this series. So for the last couple months, we've talked a lot about hot flashes, and we went through some mindfulness practices like visualization, cooling breathwork techniques, and we talked a lot about the vagus nerve, that life stimulation force in the back of our brainstem. We are talking about sleep problems and brain fog for the month of June and July. Today, we'll practice a little bit of box breathing. If you've been at previous presentations, you've seen this before, but again, it's effective, it works, and it's free. So we're going to practice that again today. We'll go through a little relaxation practice. Today, we are also going to talk about gratitude, affirmations, and how to combat that brain fog. Next month, I'm super excited to lead a yoga nidra meditation. And if you don't know exactly what that is, it's a very relaxing meditation process where we kind of go through a body scan technique. The other topics we'll explore later in this year are emotional health and low libido, two huge side effects when it comes to menopause. So again, I can't say it enough. Everyone is safe here. Everyone is welcome. We are here to respect everybody's opinions and experiences. Please feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions. There will be a question and answer session at the end. And with that said, I need to tell you, I am not a medical doctor. I know a lot of stuff, but I am not a clinical professional. So please consult your medical doctor before making any changes to your exercise, your sleep routine, your medication routine. You always want to be in partnership with them. Let's get into today's topic. We'll kind of go through an overview of the symptoms, and then we'll go through the practices that we can use to address those symptoms. Anytime we talk about mindfulness and meditation, you're going to hear me say this over and over again. Consistency is key. Any kind of mindfulness practice, we want to stay consistent. Find something that works for you. And that doesn't have to look like something you'd see on the cover of a yoga magazine. Maybe it is that gratitude practice that we'll do later, and you'd practice that daily. Maybe it's just 5 minutes of stillness where you practice that breath work that we've already gone through. We know that sleep problems and brain fog may be related to other health factors, menopause or not. We know that we can make mindfulness part of our holistic health journey just to amplify our quality of life. And I can't say it enough, the best part is it's free. Create an intention for your practice. This is always a good idea anytime we're doing a mindfulness practice or yoga or even a workout routine or even preparing a meal. What is the purpose here? What am I trying to cultivate? And I'll challenge you to be gentle with yourself, right? If your intention in your practice is like, well, I want to stop this hot flash right here, right now, we might be setting ourselves up for failure. So instead of saying, well, I'm going to do this right now, and if this breath work doesn't work, then I'm never going to practice it again. Consistency is key, and we're going to be nice and intentional with our practices. So I know that I can use this practice, and with consistency and with time, it will benefit me. So it may not stop the hot flash in its tracks, but it'll happen over time with consistent practice. As we're talking about sleep, the more you practice this through classical conditioning, the more the brain will realize it's time to relax, it's time to go to sleep. So we'll get a little deeper into that. We may not always have the opportunity to snuggle up into bed, so try to avoid the idea, well, I can only do this mindfulness practice if I'm laying down in bed. That's not true. You can do this anywhere, anytime, because it's never a bad time just to promote relaxation in the brain, especially in this world that we live in, full of chaos and adaptability and resiliency. And so many of us are mothers and caregivers and householders and people with to-do lists. Be kind to yourself, right? Your meditation practice may not always look like what you think it has to look like, but know that it can happen anywhere, anytime. With that said, let's go through sleep first. Sleep is such a hard topic in general. When I teach other health topics, I go through the stages of sleep. What is a REM cycle? What is rapid eye movement? What is dreaming? We're not going to get too much into that right now. Let us know if you want more information on the science of sleep. As sleep relates to menopause, it's almost a chicken and the egg kind of situation. Is my sleep interrupted because I'm having hot flashes at night and then I wake up in a cold sweat? Or am I having hot flashes at night because of my insomnia? The reason may not matter, and it may look different for everyone. So release yourself from the burden of trying to discover the why. Let's get rid of the why and why is this happening to me and focus more on what we can do about it. We know that some of the factors that affect sleep are night sweats, anxiety, feelings in general. We're going to talk a little bit about emotional health today, so brace yourself. Low nutrient diet. Now, I've heard Roma Valentine is coming for Positive Health to do a podcast. Stay tuned for more information about that, but it's all on Ayurveda and best diet practices for menopause. I'm going to talk a little bit about diet today, but I strongly encourage you to listen to that podcast. We'll talk a little bit about perimenopause versus menopause and how sleep changes through that. And then daytime naps. If you're napping or not napping, that is definitely going to affect your sleep at night. Maybe it's beneficial, maybe it's not. That's different for everybody too. It might be one change you're willing to try. Sleep and brain fog are related, right? They're just cousins. They're so close in terms of the symptom. So menopause causes insomnia, maybe night sweats, and it also causes fuzzy thinking or brain fog. Some people kind of describe this as feeling like your brain is full of cotton. Know that this is normal. So a theme today is just being kind to yourself and practicing a lot of self-compassion. So take a deep breath, release any expectations from yourself in this presentation. So this is normal. We go through all of these changes throughout our lives. Our sleep changes from childhood to adolescence. Our thinking and our cognitive skills changes from adolescence to midlife. These things are normal. So this isn't new. It just feels like it's all happening all at once and it's very overwhelming and we don't talk about it very often. So presentations like this are a really big benefit to all of us. The factors that affect our thinking: anxiety, low nutrient diet, emotions in general, again, postpartum versus menopause. So the difference is you're giving birth to yourself. Again, a lot of these changes many of us have experienced, and you'll see these factors that affect our thinking are the same factors that affect our sleep. So let's get a little deeper into diet. I told you I would talk about this just for a second. That bullet point on diet, when we eat a lot of refined foods, specifically foods that are very high in sugar, it directly affects our sleep. It directly affects our mood, our thinking, our heart rate, things that stress us out. So this might be the first place to start if you're already having sleep problems or brain fog. We know that the sugar in refined foods is highly addictive. Give yourself time. When you stop eating sugar, your taste buds take a long time to adjust. Trust the process and stay consistent, because eating processed foods is linked to various health issues. And this isn't something we're guessing on anymore. This is something we know through many, many scientific studies. Health issues like sleep and insomnia, anxiety, mood swings, and of course, fuzzy thinking. So diet might be the first place to start. If you're looking back and thinking, yeah, I've had a lot of processed food lately, I've eaten a lot of sugar lately, it might be time to kind of rethink the diet. That is the only thing I'm going to say on that, but keep that in your back pocket. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Let's talk a little more about sleep. We'll do a meditation practice, and then we'll move on to brain fog. Sleep changes as we age, and it's absolutely normal. You go through a number of hormone changes from perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. So know that this is a normal thing happening in your body, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just annoying. Hormone changes can lead to lack of sleep for various reasons. Less sleep means more stress hormones. We don't like that. And then more stress hormones means weaker immune system and increased brain fog. So sleep is definitely a priority. Now, for most of our lives, especially if you are a mother, a caregiver, or someone with a very long to-do list, sleep gets on the back burner all the time. And I don't know if it's American culture or cultures around the world, but we kind of glorify not sleeping. We kind of glorify how much we can get done in a day and sacrifice our sleep in order to get those things done. Now is the time in your life to erase that societal expectation from your mind. It is not good for your health to not get enough sleep. In fact, 30% of women at any age have sleep problems, far more than men. Far more women report having sleep problems and insomnia than men, especially during that later period in life. So when we talk about sleep in relation to brain fog, let me know if you've ever heard of microsleep. Microsleep is something that happens when we don't get enough sleep at night. What's going to happen to your body if you're not giving it what you need? Your body's going to retaliate and try and get exactly what it needs. So if you're not sleeping enough at night, sometime during the day, your body and brain might kind of nod off. Now, that doesn't mean you close your eyes and start snoring, but how about this? Have you ever been driving and you arrived at your destination and you really can't even remember how you got there? You really can't even remember the journey of the drive. You may have experienced some kind of microsleep. So do as I say, not as I do. Practice good sleep, and you want to get at least 7 to 9 hours a night. I know that is a challenge, and be kind to yourself. If your body is telling you, hey, that's not what we need right now, that's another result of menopause. Perimenopause, we see that we need way more sleep, similar to adolescence. When we're teenagers, we tend to sleep in late. Remember sleeping in until noon or 1 p.m.? So in adolescence and in perimenopause, we need a lot more sleep. And then after that, the hormone changes that lead into menopause mean we might not need as much sleep as before. Again, this is different for everybody. That might be a conversation to have with your doctor. You could also keep a sleep journal. Keeping a sleep journal is a tactic that will, A, give you evidence that you can take into your doctor if you have concerns about your sleep habits, but it will also hold you accountable. If you are going to keep a sleep journal, you want to write things down. Maybe it's a spiral notebook or something else, but what time you went to bed, the activities you did before bed, and it doesn't have to be super detailed, but the more detailed, the better. What time you went to bed, the activities you did before bed, how you were feeling in general before bed. And then the second half of that is, of course, what time you woke up, how you're feeling when you woke up emotionally and physically. Am I groggy? Am I depressed? All of those things. Excuse me. And then how rested you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. How rested. With practice, as you research that evidence and make little changes in your life, you're probably going to notice you feel a little more rested. Now, the last thing I'll say about sleep is in regards to weight. Sleep is directly related to weight at any age. Now, we know when we enter menopause, it is really, really hard to lose weight. The metabolism just starts slowing down as we get older. This is normal. The other tough thing about diet as we get older is we need far fewer calories, but we need just as many nutrients. So the type of food that you're eating becomes super, super important. You want lots of leafy greens and very few refined foods. So our first excerpt from the Wisdom of Menopause, I'm going to read you just a little bit about sleep and diet just to illustrate how important this is. A 2005 study at Columbia University showed that less sleep subjects got, the more likely they were to be obese. Those who only got 4 hours or less of sleep were 73% more likely to be obese than those who slept from 7 to 9 hours. Those getting 5 hours of sleep per night were 50% more likely to be obese. And those getting 6 hours of sleep a night were still 23% more likely to be obese. Researchers believe that when you don't get enough sleep, your body produces less of the hormone leptin, the hormone which signals your body that you're full after eating, and more of the hormone ghrelin, which tells your body you're hungry, leaving you feeling both hungrier and less satisfied. Two things we definitely don't want. So if you're not convinced that sleep is super, super important, hopefully that study will convince you. It affects your weight, it affects your thinking, your clarity, it affects your immune system, your emotional health. So quit putting sleep on the back burner if you're guilty of that, like I am, if you're guilty of those societal expectations, and make it a top priority. I'm going to give you a couple suggestions on how to better your sleep today, and I hope you write one of those things down. Now, you can change your mentality around sleep. Remember that electricity has been around a long time. So those societal expectations, not only are we glorifying how much we can get done in a day, but typically our rest and relaxation time involves some kind of screen, a television, a cell phone, a computer, maybe even just a light and you're reading a book or having the lights on late at night. With the invention of electricity, it is very, very easy to stay up until midnight or 1 in the morning. Scientists suggest not doing that and staying much closer to the natural human circadian rhythm that tells us it's time to go to bed when the sun goes down. When the sun goes down, our body naturally produces melatonin. We like that. That's our sleepy time hormone, and it signals the body that it's time to go to sleep. If we're keeping all the lights on late at night or staring at our tablet or our phone, we might not be producing that melatonin. The brain doesn't get that signal that it's time to go to sleep. We see light, it's time to wake up. So take that into consideration with your nighttime activity and your nighttime routine. The National Sleep Foundation recommends no screen time at least 1 hour before bed. I would challenge you to make that 2 hours. Find some kind of relaxing activity that you can do before bed that doesn't involve a screen. Listen to your inner wisdom. This is a common theme in this Wisdom of Menopause book that I'm reading. The woman who wrote this suggests that sometimes when we can't sleep, it's unresolved emotional issues. She also mentions that for brain fog as well. As she talks about the menopause journey, she mentions that this time in your life is really to reanalyze the things that have disturbed you on emotional levels. Now, maybe you've been very resilient for a very long time and you haven't addressed those things. The woman who wrote The Wisdom of Menopause suggests that this is the time in life when those things reappear. Now, that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it does mean it's time to address them. So if you're listening to your inner wisdom and those thoughts in your head are coming up, something that happened years ago, I don't know, you know the worries that pop into your brain late at night. I have my own, you have your own, we all do. Challenge yourself to use those thoughts as an opportunity. What can I do with these thoughts that keep me up late at night? Is there an opportunity to let go of something? What would that look like to let go of this emotional thing that keeps me up at night? How would that feel? How would I do that? We'll talk a little more about this when we go through brain fog. Changing your diet is another tactic to improve your sleep. We know that. Less refined foods, less sugar, and especially before bed. You also want to try a mindfulness relaxation technique like box breathing. Box breathing is my favorite meditation technique when it comes to sleep preparation. It has helped me deal with my insomnia. Box breathing is exactly like it sounds. You don't need a physical box, but you kind of want to visualize a box in your head. Going around the corners of your box, you're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold that inhale in the lungs for 4 seconds, Exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold that exhale. So at the bottom of your breath, no air in the lungs, hold that for 4 seconds, and then take another inhale for 4 seconds. We will practice in just a moment, so feel free to get yourself comfortable and just prepare to breathe. As you're doing that, I will explain why this works. Oftentimes when we can't sleep or when we're awoken in the middle of the night because of a dream or a hot flash or an anxiety attack, any of those things, the mind is racing. So we need to refocus the mind. We need to give it something productive and not harmful to think about. Counting your breaths can help calm the mind. Box breathing is a simple technique you can do absolutely anywhere. Again, we don't need to be laying in bed for this to work. 4-second inhales, 4-second exhales, and 4-second holds at the top and the bottom of your breath. It may help to tap your fingers or use music or rhythm, or you can visualize that box or square in your head. You could even follow the lines with your eyes if you have a visual in front of you. Do what works for you. Now, when I say tap the fingers, especially if I've got a racing mind late at night and I'm going to practice some box breathing, I might just tap on my knuckles. Inhale for 4. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Do what works for you. We are ready to jump into our practice. So on your next screen, you're going to see a GIF, a graphic that moves and breathes. Jump in when you're ready. Don't feel rushed, but it's just going to count to 4 through the inhale, the hold, the exhale, and so on. So let's begin. As we're doing that, I'm kind of going to walk you through anytime you get into a mindfulness practice or meditation technique. Of course, we would all love to be seated cross-legged on a pillow on the floor, but sometimes that's not always available. So let's say you're at a red light or at your office chair or at dinner with your family and you just need a breath. The physical things you want to do are kind of roll the shoulders away from the ears, sit up nice and tall. Anytime we practice meditation or mindfulness, we want to make sure the spine is tall but not stiff. We're not tensing any of the muscles. We're just making space for the breath to happen. It's very hard to take full, deep cleansing breaths if we're hunched over with terrible posture. So roll those shoulders back, get them down away from the ears, give the throat and chest, lungs, the diaphragm, plenty of room to breathe. Now go ahead and jump into this practice when you're ready. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Hold it. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Hold it. Now remember, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Please continue your box breathing if you're watching this visual on your screen. As you are breathing in, you may notice that you pull in a lot of air right away, and that is absolutely okay. As you're breathing out, you may notice you breathe out slowly. If you breathe out too quickly, you might feel, oh my gosh, I don't have any more air left in my lungs. Try and breathe out a little more. Really empty the lungs. That hold at the bottom is just 4 seconds. And don't feel like a failure if you got to take a pause and skip a hold or go back to your regular rhythm of breathing, especially if you get dizzy, especially if 4 seconds might be too long or too short. Some of us who have played saxophone and clarinet and have a lot of lung capacity may be able to hold and breathe in and exhale for 6 seconds. Do what is right for your body. We're going to stay here for 2 more minutes practicing that box breathing. I'll join you. So we're holding. Empty out the lungs on your exhale. Hold it at the bottom. Breathe in. Pull in a little more air and then hold it. Fill up those lungs. Feel that oxygen nourishing every cell in your body. And then let it out. Pull out a little more air. Hold it. Breathe in for 4. Hold at the top of your breath. Breathe out for 4. Hold at the bottom. We'll roll through this one more time. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Hold it. Feel free to return to your natural rhythm of breathing. This is a tool you always have with you, and this might be something to keep in that sleep journal. If you're already struggling with sleep, maybe this is the thing that you add into your new routine late at night. And this is a really easy one because you don't have to change your diet, you don't have to buy a new mattress, you don't have to get a sound machine. Maybe you just practice your box breathing for 1 minute before you go to bed each night and see if that helps. And be kind to yourself. I can't say that enough. A few more things about sleep. Feel free to tell me in the chat box if you have any reflection. Anytime we do a mindfulness practice, I always like to reflect. How did that feel? What did you notice about the body? Could you see yourself using this as practice, or was this something that maybe doesn't work for you? That's okay too. And was it challenging? A lot of folks report feeling a little dizzy after the box breathing. So if that's you, please feel free to step out of that practice anytime and just go back to your regular organic rhythm of breathing and jump back into it when you're ready. Seeing no other reflections in the chat, I'm going to move on. I believe this is my last little note about sleep. Other tips for better sleep, of course, we want to create a sleep sanctuary. So your bedroom should be clear of clutter. It should be dark, cool, and quiet. I'm not too worried about the illuminated light on your alarm clock. Some scientists are. The National Sleep Foundation says we want to cover up every single light in our room. I've done a little bit of extra research. I'm not sure how important that is, but I'm sure it doesn't hurt. So make your room dark, cool, and quiet. Maybe get some blackout curtains. Maybe use a sleep mask. That has been helpful for a lot of different people. And you might consider other relaxing techniques and options like essential oils. Folks have mentioned that lavender is a very calming scent that they might use before they go to bed, or citrine oil. And then covering your mirrors. Now, this comes from a feng shui kind of perspective. And again, it's in this book, The Wisdom of Menopause. Apparently, having lots of mirrors in the rooms promotes active energy. So in your bedroom, if you have lots of mirrors, you might want to cover those up at night, or maybe remove some of them from the room completely. I will also tell you that folks with a cluttered nightstand tend to get worse sleep than people with a very organized bedroom. So you want to make sure the surfaces in your bedroom are nice and clear. No papers, no bills lying around, maybe a couple plants and picture frames. That's absolutely fine. But clear the room of clutter. It's going to help relieve some of the anxiety from your mind. We want to practice relaxing pre-sleep routines, baths, reading, meditation, things that do not involve a screen. If you can't answer the sentence, every night before I go to bed, I blank, you might want to rethink your bedroom routine. The brain loves routine, like robotic. We want to do the same thing at the same time every single night, just to train the brain. Oh, it's time to relax. Oh, we're cooling down. Oh, I get to shut down and organize my memories and thoughts and dream and practice that rapid eye movement for the brain. That's what we're telling the brain. So an hour before you go to bed, what is your sleep routine? Turning off the TV. You finish up the dishes. You take a nice hot bath. You have a cup of tea, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you lay in bed, you do your box breathing. So whatever your routine is, make it consistent. Do it at that time, in that order, every single day, and that will help. Practice resiliency. Give yourself a before bed worry list. Now, you can give this out to your higher power of choice. Scientists tell us that folks who are resilient typically believe in some kind of higher power, and I'm not going to give it a name or a label. That can look like whatever you need it to look like, but releasing that control, releasing yourself from the burden of control of your worries. A lot of us have a racing mind before we go to bed. So writing those things down, putting it on a piece of paper, and then just setting it aside is a really good mental exercise to tell yourself, I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm going to give that away, my higher power, the universe, whatever, and just deal with it later. Avoid caffeine. We know that caffeine is not good for sleep. We know this. Even having 1 cup of coffee in the morning, unfortunately, my friends, does affect our sleep at night. Women actually metabolize caffeine slower than men. Lucky us. So this is far more important for us. You might want to switch to decaf coffee, decaf tea, decaf sodas, or eliminate it altogether. We know that water is best. Sorry to be the messenger. And on that note, we want to avoid alcohol. Alcohol definitely disrupts the brainstem mechanism and rebounds insomnia. So even though alcohol makes you sleepy and you go to bed, it's very hard for the brain to actually get to a restful place in sleep, because essentially we have poisoned our body. So our brain doesn't get to that restful sleep. On the contrary, the brain falls asleep and then it says, oh, this is a little dangerous because we have poison in our body. And then we wake up. So it rebounds insomnia. Try and avoid alcohol. And then, of course, getting regular exercise is my favorite one. If you're not going for a 20 or 30-minute walk during the day, try and fit that into your daily routine. We want to get regular exercise, but not 3 to 6 hours before bed. I know that's so hard, but if we're doing something vigorous about 3 hours before bed, it may stimulate the metabolism and brain activity, making it harder to fall asleep. So best practice, wake up early, get some early morning sunshine, and go for a nice little walk. Jay says he's used box breath. Nice, that's awesome. Now, we're switching gears. We're talking about brain fog. Now, this is definitely relevant to all the things we've talked about in sleep. We're going to talk about thinking and clarity a little bit, and I'm going to go into that a little more next month in terms of the science behind brain fog and thinking. Today, we're going to practice self-compassion. I cannot stress this enough. Be kind to your mind. The thoughts that happen in your brain are true. Your perspective of the life and yourself are true. Whatever you are thinking in your brain, your perspective is your reality. Now, this is incredibly challenging because as human beings, we are designed and programmed to look for the negatives, to practice safe survival and fight or flight. So I'm always looking about what's going to get me. What do I have to worry about? What do I have to do? Who's going to be disappointed in me and kick me out of the tribe? We're rewiring the brain. We don't live in that kind of tribal society anymore, but the brain still thinks we do. So being kind to your mind is so important. We are going to practice a little affirmation today, and we're going to practice some of those instead of this, say this kind of things. If any of that is helpful for you, I encourage you to write it down. Writing it down is going to make it more real. Now, in perimenopause, the brain is amplified. So it's bringing up memories of events that require processing and forgiveness. Let me know if you've already experienced this. Maybe you're going through the day and all of a sudden your third grade math teacher comes to mind of that thing that still makes you embarrassed to this day. Those are the kind of things we might need to release. And those are the kind of things that from reports and the science that is reflected in this Wisdom of Menopause book seem to be coming up for a lot of women during this stage in their life. Perimenopause allows us to upgrade the areas of our lives that need to support changes. So again, that brain fog or that thinking, your body's telling you something. It is time to address some of the things that maybe we haven't addressed for years. A quote from our Wisdom of Menopause book. There is not a quick fix to this one. Fighting or trying to control mental symptoms with denial, drugs, or even an overdependence on mental health techniques such as meditation is ultimately doomed to fail. Instead, we need to heed the messages behind our symptoms, support ourselves fully with sound information, and when necessary, be willing to take life-changing action. This may not feel like the time in your life to take life-changing action. Leave a job, a marriage, end a friendship, change your routine, start a new hobby. But that might be the very thing that you need. So if that little voice inside of you that always speaks the truth is telling you that, it may be related to the symptoms you are experiencing. We are blaming menopause for brain fog, insomnia, anxiety. This just seems to be the time in life when those things come up. And of course, the last thing here, brain fog is not Alzheimer's. Everyone has had their glasses up on their head and gone, oh, where are my glasses? I've done it, right? Everybody has walked into the kitchen and gone, well, what the heck did I come in here for? That is normal. That is not Alzheimer's. That is absolutely normal. It may happen more often as we get older, but that is absolutely normal. So forgive yourself for that. And speaking of forgiveness, practice positive self-talk. Self-talk is a mindfulness exercise. Again, we are rewiring that negative programming in the brain. We are being mindful of the way we talk to ourselves. Your perspective is reality. Being kind to yourself is going to yield health benefits in other areas of your life. So write one of these things down. Which one is going to resonate with you? Which one is the mental thought that you need to rewire today? Instead of saying, wow, that was stupid, say, that was so human of me, right? You left your cell phone in the refrigerator. That's so human, so silly. You must have had a lot on your brain. Don't call yourself stupid. Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, say, I'm still learning every day, even at this age. Isn't that cool? I am so honored and lucky to be here and be learning. Instead of saying, I can't get it right, say, I am figuring this out as I go. And that's okay. We're human. The consequences of not being perfect really aren't so dire. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, say, I am enough and I am worthy. That all starts within. Instead of saying, no one likes me, say, I like me. Instead of saying, what's wrong with me, say, I've got a lot going on. And instead of saying, I just can't focus, say, it's best for me to focus on one thing at a time. Be kind to yourself. You are human. We're going to get a little bit deeper into positive affirmations. And if you haven't written one of these down yet, I encourage you to do so, but I will give you another opportunity with our affirmations later in our practice. Your brain is like a muscle. Like every other muscle in your body, it has to be flexed and worked, and it needs to be challenged in different ways. If I end up doing the same exercise over and over again every day, I might be challenged in the beginning, but after a while, I'll plateau. The brain is no different. Brain function is actually affected by attitudes, experiences, both physical and mental stimulation, whether that's exercise or doing a Sudoku puzzle. So staying socially active is important. Staying mentally active is important. And again, maybe this doesn't feel like the time in your life to finally go down to the library and sign up to volunteer, but that might be the very thing your brain and body needs. New stimulation, new social activities, new experiences, learning new things. Challenging new experiences create pathways in the brain. So especially if you're trying something challenging and new, you want it to be hard, but not impossible. The brain also really likes projects, big projects. So reorganizing the photos on your living room wall, or planting a garden, or sewing a quilt. Those long-term multi-step kind of projects are really good for brain stimulation. Now, they're not going to eliminate brain fog completely, but it will give your brain something to focus on in a step-by-step sense. And then optimism can be medicine. This is a tough one, and I apologize if I am approaching you as an unhelpful Pollyanna, but optimism really, really does help. The folks who practice affirmations and positive thinking post-surgery tend to heal faster and need less pain medication than those people who are more pessimistic post-surgery. Now, take that in every area of your life. Optimism can be medicine. If we are struggling with sleep or hot flashes or mood swings or anxiety or brain fog, the more negative we give our brain, the more negative that it will give us back. This is a tough one again, because we are just designed to find the negative and look for what's out to get us. So we have to consistently rewire and practice positive and optimistic thinking. Excuse me. Gratitude practice is one of the best ways to do that. Now, me and probably everybody else, we started doing this during COVID, right? 2020 happened and we thought, oh my gosh, now I need to focus on my brain so I don't lose my mind with all the negative things that are so out of my control happening in the world. That's an extreme example. But a lot of the things happening in menopause are just out of your control. The hormone changes in your body are frustrating. They produce a lot of anxiety. The symptoms are very hard to deal with. Oftentimes we don't get a lot of support. Those things are negative. I'm not trying to be unrealistic about that, but I do need to send you the message that gratitude practice is going to help cultivate optimism in your brain, cultivate a positive attitude that is going to lead to positive outcomes in terms of health in your life. Because our brains are wired to look for the negative, we have to actively construct positive narratives and positive pathways in the brain, right? Stop saying, wow, that was dumb of me. Say, that was so human of me. Now, grab your piece of paper, grab a pen, and if you haven't already, write down 3 things you are grateful for right now. Scientists say the best time to do this is first thing in the morning when you wake up. So you wake up, maybe you have a nice cup of water. If you're trying to avoid the caffeine, and you sit down at the dining room table and you take out your little pad of paper and you just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And this doesn't have to be big or complicated. Maybe it's very simple. That's okay. I will tell you, it will benefit you more if you can include more details. So instead of saying, I love my house, get as detailed as possible. Say, I love my house because of the warm color I painted my walls. It makes me feel cozy. I love the tile in my bathroom and the curtains on the windows. I am so happy I'm able to create a place that makes me feel safe and peaceful. Instead of saying, I'm grateful for my friends, say something like, I am so happy I've been able to cultivate relationships with people I really admire and respect. Instead of saying, I'm grateful for my blender, Say, I'm so happy I got to have a nice breakfast smoothie because I have this wonderful blender in my kitchen. It can be big, it can be small. I'm thankful for the troops protecting our freedom overseas. I'm thankful for my fuzzy slippers that I get to wear around the house. 3 things you're grateful for every single day. Bonus points if you can get to 5. 3 things you're grateful for every single day, and take ownership. Instead of saying, wow, my friends are so great, say, I have wonderful friends. I have cultivated positive, wonderful relationships in my life. Instead of saying, my house is so cozy, say, I have built this beautiful home. Instead of saying, I am so lucky, I am so grateful to own a car, to own a home, to be able to go to work, to be able to talk to my family. Congratulate yourself and give yourself that ownership of the things that you're grateful for. Again, positive mental attitude is something we're going to work on every single day because we're worth it and it's important and it will benefit our health holistically. Other tips to combat brain fog. Now, this is a tough one. Brain fog is related to all of our other symptoms. So, of course, you're working on diet, you're working on exercise, you're working on that positive self-talk. One of the biggest suggestions from our Wisdom of Menopause book is to write down your to-do list in the morning. So we've done our gratitude practice, 3 things you're grateful for, and then write down maybe 5 to 10 things that you're going to do that day. Now, try not to make a to-do list that's as long as your arm because that's setting yourself up for failure and disappointment, and those are the emotions we want to avoid. So just 5 or 10 things you're going to do, and if you don't cross all those things off your list, be kind to yourself. Write down your don't forget or your worry list before bed. We saw this in our sleep recommendations as well. Helping your mind reorganize the thoughts that typically keep you up at night or typically produce anxious or negative thoughts that can result in brain fog is going to help you combat that activity. So writing down the don't forget or the worry list before bed, just to organize it, put it on a piece of paper and get it out of your mind, will help reduce brain fog over time. Dedicate focus time, one task at a time. Avoid multitasking. This is true at any age. We are not built to multitask. Humans are supposed to do one thing at one time, but society is not set up that way. And that's another thing we glorify. How much can we get done and how much can we be doing all at once? Last time you sat down to watch a movie, were you also on your cell phone? Were you also knitting a scarf? Were you also cleaning the kitchen? Try and do one thing at a time. I know that's a challenge, but now's the time in your life to really do that and be kind to yourself. And that's another way to do it. Turn your brain fog into a character. I love this suggestion. I also use this suggestion when I talk about depression. It kind of takes ownership away from the thing that's affecting you that feels so out of your control. So I might say, wow, my brain fog is in the doorway right now. Like feeling a little fuzzy, a little scatterbrained. Sometimes my character brain fog is right up at me. I can't get my thoughts organized and they are really interrupting my day. Sometimes my brain fog is on the other side of the street, just kind of lingering over there, feeling pretty organized, feeling pretty on top of my to-do list right now, so he's taking a walk. Giving your brain fog or whatever symptom you're experiencing a character kind of gives yourself a little forgiveness. It removes the ownership of that. It removes the, oh, there's something wrong with me kind of attitude. It's just something that you're dealing with in your life. There it is, this new character that's going to be with you for a little bit. Flip the script. We talked about this as sleep as well. Is it brain fog or intuition? Is your body and your brain trying to tell you something? Is there some kind of emotional strife or anxiety-provoking thought that really needs to be addressed? This is tough to explain, but brain fog may be a result of some kind of unresolved emotional issue, and it may be your brain's way of protecting you from addressing those things and thinking through those things. This might not be true for everyone, but I think, but dealing with those things, if you have any kind of unresolved emotional issues, therapy is always a good one to go to. If you're not talking to a therapist, that might be something to ask your doctor if you're interested in. Journaling is another really good way to kind of process through those things. And of course, we want to look at holistic health. What's going on with your diet, your physical, your mental activity, your sleep, your emotional health. Find opportunities for improvement. Now, when we have brain fog, remember to be kind to yourself. I'm going to share a little more of the science from our fabulous book. Apparently, in perimenopause and menopause, our brain catches fire. Let's talk about what that means. Our brains actually begin to change at perimenopause. Like the resting heat in our bodies, our brains also become fired up. Sparked by the hormonal changes that are typical during the menopause transition, a switch goes on that signals changes in our temporal lobe, the brain's region associated with enhancing intuition. How this ultimately affects us depends to a large degree on how willing we are to make the changes in our lives that our hormones are urging us to make over the 10 years or so of perimenopause. There is ample scientific evidence of the brain changes that begin to take place at perimenopause. Differences in relative levels of estrogen and progesterone affect the temporal lobe and the limbic areas of our brains, and we may find ourselves becoming irritable, anxious, and emotionally volatile. Though our culture leads us to believe that our mood swings are simply the result of raging hormones and do not have anything to do with our lives, there is solid evidence that repeated episodes of stress due to relationships, children, job situations you feel angry about or powerless over, for example, are actually behind many of the hormonal changes in our brain and body. This means that if your life situation, whether at work or with children, your husband, your parents, or whatever, doesn't change, then unresolved emotional stress can exacerbate a perimenopause hormone imbalance. In a normal premenopausal hormone state, it's much easier to overlook those aspects of your life that don't really work, just as you can overlook them more easily at the first half of your menstrual cycle. The time when you're more apt to feel upbeat and happy and able to shove difficult material under the rug. But that doesn't mean the problems aren't there. So I hope I'm not shattering the glass on anybody there. But that brain fog, your sleep issues, they may be related to some kind of emotional health or some kind of unresolved issues. Don't be afraid to reach out and get help. Don't be afraid to process those things. We will talk a little bit more about emotional health in terms of depression and anxiety when we get there. So we'll talk a little bit more about this. But the moral of the story here today, folks, is that brain fog is normal. Sleep issues are normal. No, they are not fun, but no, there is nothing wrong with you. Practice the optimism and self-talk. And before we get into before we get into questions and answers today, I'm going to give you one more mindfulness practice. So if you haven't already, just find a nice comfortable seat in your chair. We'll just do a little bit of breath work, and then we'll go through some affirmations. Affirmation, meditation, and breathing techniques are all great ways to center the mind and practice self-compassion, especially if we're negative thinkers. I'm guilty of it, and I can tell you that gratitude journal that I started in 2020, I keep doing it, and I noticed a change in my brain. After doing that for a couple weeks, every day, you are going to see things in your life that you say, I'm going to write that in my gratitude journal tomorrow. You're going to rewire the brain to think positively. Now let's work on the self-compassion. As you find that nice, comfortable seat, we'll only be here for about 3 minutes or so. Spine should be tall, shoulders back, relaxed. Take a deep breath in, filling up the lungs. Exhale it out, slow and controlled. Take a deep breath in. Exhale it out, slow and controlled. One more deep breath in. Exhale it out, slow and controlled. Now repeat after me, either out loud or in your head. Take a deep breath in. I am resilient and an incredible human being. Repeat after me. All of my experiences have led me here to this precious moment, and I am grateful. Everything happening around me is happening for me. I am exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what I need to be doing. Everything is working out in my favor. Take a deep breath. Exhale it out slow and controlled. And we're going to run through that one more time. Take a deep breath, preparing the mind for all of these positive affirmations. And then repeat after me. I am a resilient, incredible human being. All of my experiences have led me here to this precious moment, and I am grateful. Everything happening around me is happening for me. I am exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what I need to be doing. Everything is working out in my favor. Take one more full deep breath. Exhale it out slow and controlled. Feel free to add your own positive affirmations to your practice, and maybe they look a little different every day. With consistent practice over time, you're going to notice a more positive outlook, you're going to notice more optimism, and you're probably, hopefully, speaking this into existence, going to get a better night's sleep, have less brain fog, more clarity, and a little more self-compassion. I'll open this up to questions if you have any. I believe we have a little extra information after this. So again, thank you so much for letting me guide you through these couple of practices. Kim, any questions that I missed?
Well, first of all, Skylar, before we get into the Q and answer, I want to thank you so much for all this wonderful information. I love your extra tips that you provided for better sleep. I think that resiliency is so important to keep your mind from racing, and always keep in mind there's always tomorrow.
Yes, yes, thank you. I agree. Yeah, thanks, Kim. I love that. And it's speaking from experience. I struggle with this too.
Yes. And I really like the practice of gratitude, and the insights that you provided in writing the three things down. And I assume actually writing it down is best, but I guess if you don't have that as an option, a pen and paper handy, just thinking it through can be just as beneficial.
Thinking it through, gosh, bonus points if you can say it out loud. I mean, if nobody's with you in the car, there's no
Yeah.
reason you can't say, I'm so grateful for this new paved road getting me to work today.
Oh, there you go. That does make a difference.
Yes.
Well, I do have a couple questions here. I know it probably varies from person to person, but about how long does it take for the box breathing to work consistently?
Ooh, good question. So in a one night practice, if I'm just having a hard time sleeping, I might do a box breathing practice for maybe just 1 minute, getting the mind ready to sleep. Now, if we're talking about when am I going to notice that it's easier to sleep after weeks of practice, months of practice, like you said, that's different person to person. The typical answer is 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 21 days to form a habit, 21 days to create new pathways in the brain. So if we're talking about little 5 minutes of stillness or 1 or 2 minutes of box breathing, I'd say really give yourself 3 weeks of consistent practice to see if it's making a difference for you.
Okay. Yeah, good tip. That 3 week time frame does come into play for a variety of things.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, and so 3 weeks, assume how long should a box breathing routine last? So I guess maybe like just for an individual box breathing routine.
Yeah, good question. A minute minimum if you can. And if you get dizzy again, please feel free to stop. I'd say 3 minutes max. It can go longer if your lung capacity will allow it. But this is one of those grab and go quick mindfulness exercises to recenter the mind and practice that rest and digest stimulation. So 3 minutes maximum, you're going to see results.
Mhm. And then I guess, like on the affirmation statements that we did at the end here, and like one of them just didn't really apply to me, and it doesn't. I'm thinking I'd like to switch it out with something else. I guess it's good for you to kind of think through what are the statements that you want to affirm each day, and maybe change it up. Is that or should you stick with the same affirmations?
Oh, good question. No, no. Yeah, affirmations is a place you can definitely get some variety. The more variety, the better. Give your brain lots of opportunity to say, oh, yeah, I am pretty great. And I am pretty resilient. And life is kind of working out. Whatever that looks like for you, that's fine. And I'm really glad you said that, Kim, that one of those things didn't really apply to me. Get rid of that one. Any of those affirmations that make that little voice in your head say, oh, but not for you. Get rid of those ones. Get them out of there because we don't need
Yeah.
that little voice talking back to us.
Okay, great stuff here. So I don't see any other questions out here. So I guess we can move on to a few announcements.
Yes,
We
and
had
thank you again. Go
here at
ahead.
Positive Health, we're leveraging the power of webinars and podcasts to to build awareness on many other important menopause-related topics that we are sharing out with folks. So coming up here with our webinars, the month of July, we have a great lineup of guided imagery for menopause webinars that will be hosted by Jane Ehrman, and she'll be presenting this 4-part weekly series starting July 9th. And she'll break it out into, different focuses but for menopause, but she will have an actual experience in each one of those. So, please sign up for that. And then Skylar will be back at the end of July 31st, with another hot topic. She mentioned the Yoga Nidra meditation. So please sign up for her next monthly webinar on July 31st. Both of those can be found out on our positivehealth.com/webinars site. And then our upcoming podcast, I believe Skylar also mentioned, we've got Roma Valentine joining us as a guest to talk about Ayurveda and how you can use that to stay centered, grounded, and joyful. So please tune into that. You can find all of our podcasts out on positivehealth.com/podcast, but also at your favorite spots where you'd like to listen to your podcast: Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And then I'd like to invite you, if you're not already a member of the Positive Health program, to join, or if you know of someone who can benefit from it, please pass this information on to them. You can join by going to the positivehealth.com/membership site. And here by signing up for the program, we're offering a holistic one-stop digital health experience for you. And it is free right now through December 31st. So please join in or pass this information on to others that you think may benefit. And then also, I want to mention we do have a menopause journey community where folks can really come in, listen to what others are saying, talk about different things going on in their lives, and get some great pointers or information that are available. So you can sign up by just sending an email to info@positivehealth.com to get started. I believe that wraps us up here today, Skylar. And again, I want to thank you so much for everything that you do. I love the positivity that you encourage, and I love the many things that I personally can take away from the presentation, and hopefully others as well. So thank you very, very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. This is a real joy. Gratitude to you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.